Alright, so week 12 of the college football season just happened. So I'm going to do a quick little recap on it, and then we're going to go through my rankings for this week of college football. So first off, we got to start off, of course, with the first undefeated team upset. And that's going to be, at least I'm going to consider it the first one, at least the biggest one. It's going to be Oklahoma Baylor. As we saw Jalen Hurts and that defense step up. And honestly, if they played like they did in that second half all the time, Oklahoma would be considered a top 4 team. They'd also probably be undefeated, though. If they were undefeated, they'd be top 4. But they aren't, so kind of forget about it. Oklahoma's not being in the top 4, sadly. But, oh well. That brings me up to my next topic, though, as this Big 12 is just a mess. Literally in the Big 12, anybody can beat anybody. It's kind of like the NFL. Well, you know, except for Kansas. Kansas can't win against anybody for some reason. They do play decent games, though. So, like, the Big 12 is just competitive. And it's a really fun conference to watch this year. Kind of like usually how the Pac-12 is. Pac-12 is usually very competitive. Well, this year, it's the Big 12. College football's been really, really interesting this year. A lot more competitive than we've actually seen in years past. But on to the next one, as Georgia ended up beating Auburn, hung on to the win. I think they won 21-14, and they'll more than likely be the SEC championship game. I think they have to win their next game. They're automatically in or something like that. So they don't really have much to worry about there. It's same with LSU. They just have to win their next game and they're automatically in. Then again, both those teams need to lose 2 games to be kicked out of it, which more than likely won't happen. So there's no point in really hoping that's going to happen when it won't happen. That's really all that. I got to talk about Notre Dame, though, as Notre Dame absolutely slaughtered Navy, who's in the American Athletic Conference. It's kind of upsetting for the American Athletic Conference when you thought, because everyone was thinking they might be finally turning a corner, but Navy just got slaughtered. Sure, it's Navy, but that's a rivalry game too. Usually, even when Navy sucks and Notre Dame's really good, it's usually still close. Triple options usually very hard to figure out, but for some reason, they just got slaughtered this time. So I don't know what's going on there. Notre Dame finally seemed to be awake, though. Their offense seemed to be firing on all ends. And that game could have been a lot worse than what the scoreboard said. And it really was a lot worse than what the scoreboard said. That brings us up to another 2 teams that are coming alive and figuring out their offense, and that's Michigan and Clemson. As Michigan seems to just be figuring out how to play again. Maybe they upset Ohio State if they keep this going. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait for that Michigan-Ohio State game just because of how well Michigan is playing football now. Then, of course, you know, Clemson's now figured out too. 52-3 against Wake Forest, who was at one point undefeated, then got beat by Louisville, then lost again. And then they got absolutely slaughtered by Clemson. After that UNC game, Clemson turned on another level, and they're going to be something to watch there in our Final Four. This Final Four this year is going to be very, very interesting, though. With Clemson turning a level, Ohio State looking very high, LSU looking very high. Then, I don't know, they put Bama in as 4 seed, maybe? I don't know. So just put Oregon, Bama, someone in there at 4 seed. It's going to be one interesting Final Four to end the year out. And I can't wait to watch it. Like I said, this has probably been one of the better college football years from year past. And finally, but not least, we have Indiana. Indiana barely lost to Penn State. So I think the Hoosiers might finally be good for once, which is quite surprising. If you guys look at Indiana's past history of football, you'll understand why everybody's shocked they did so well. But it's kind of like Minnesota. They seem to just be finally turning corner and their team's finally doing well. And talking about Minnesota, they lost. They're no longer undefeated. Row the boats ended, sadly. Everybody's disappointed. They lost to Iowa. It kind of shows how good the Big Ten is this year, though, as it's really Ohio State, and then you got the middle tier with Iowa, Minnesota, IU, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois. You can even put in there somewhat Michigan State, but not really. But, like, that middle tier is just absolutely loaded with teams. And then, of course, you have their bottom tier teams, Purdue, and then Nebraska, Maryland, Rutgers, the usual ones, you know. But, like, the Big Ten's very, very solid this year. I would not be surprised to see them do very well in their bowl games once again this year. Which, that brings me to my top 25, which, of course, we start off with the first four. I don't think anybody's going to argue with these anymore. LSU at number 1 at 10-0. Ohio State at number 2 and 10-0. Clemson at number 3 at 11-0. Georgia at number 4 at 9-1. Alabama at number 5 at 9-1. Oregon at number 6 at 9-1. Utah at number 7 at 9-1. Oklahoma at number 8 at 9-1. Penn State at number 9 at 9-1. Florida at number 10 at 8-2. Minnesota at number 11 at 9-1. Michigan at number 12 at 9-2. Wisconsin at number 13 at 8-2. Notre Dame at number 14 at 8-2. Auburn at 15 at 7-3. Baylor at 16 at 9-1. Cincinnati at 17 at 9-1. Memphis at 18 at 9-1. SMU at 19 at 10-1. Boise State at 20 at 9-1. Iowa at 21 at 7-3. 22 Oklahoma State at 7-3. 23 Texas A&M at 7-3. 24 Appalachian State at 9-1. And 25 Indiana at 7-3. I did have some teams barely missed the cut. I'll tell you 10 teams that are very close though. Virginia Tech, UCF, Virginia, Pittsburgh, USC, Navy, Air Force, Texas, and Washington, and then Kansas State. I don't really have those in order, just 10 teams that could possibly make it eventually if they just win. But those were my recaps and my top 25 for this week of college football. So if you guys have any thoughts or opinions about it, I want to hear why you guys agree, disagree, what other recaps or takeaways you had from this past week of college football. I just want to hear it all down below. Also, if you disagree with my rankings, tell me why. Of course, leave a suggestion for another video down in the comments below if you guys have one. And I may end up doing that one of these days. And of course, thanks for watching. Make sure to click those links down there. Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and Patreon. And just make sure to keep the sports leaf flowing throughout the day.